Now we move on to the main show of RPL. That being Tier 1. Tier 1 is held Saturdays, 8 p.m. UK. And in regards to, and I will say this, in regards to the commentary, I'm back on deck on main. So you'll be hearing my wonderful voice for the game cycle. But enough about that. Let's get into the driver teams, the driver pairings for the teams for Tier 1 Season 13. Let's kick it off with the defending Constructors Champions, McLaren. McLaren, they dominated the Drivers and Constructors Championships in the F124 game cycle, with Leo Lund winning Season 11 and Jack Miles winning the Season 12 championship. But we don't know if McLaren is looking to go for a three-peat. That is because their driver lineup is completely brand new. They have Florian Vanzelter in the car, and his teammate is TSR Cryptic. Now, TSR Cryptic, I will say, last season, he was very consistent in regards to last season. 13 times in the points. And Florian had a couple of podiums and even a win last season. So can these two together rise even further and potentially look for a three-peat in the Constructors for McLaren? Anything's possible.
Florian's got to show up more. He did to start last season, but the second half, there wasn't much attendance, and I know there were things that conflicted with it. If he does show up, yes, he is the odds-on favorite. He's faster this game. He's better this game. His racecraft's been better the last game or so. You were saying?
Yeah, he did say that he is going to be full committed to the entire season.
There you go. So, yeah.
He did tell me that a couple of months ago.
He's got the fastest car. He's where he should be. And I know we went nearly 2 hours without mentioning his name, but with Leo Lund now banned, I mean, Florian might be the fastest driver in RPL now. I'm saying that. Doesn't mean you're the best. No. But Leo Lund was clearly the fastest, and he didn't win all the races when it came to last season. And even the season before. With Cryptic,
he did have mistakes.
Yes, with Cryptic, he's a good number 2 in this situation. Cryptic was a number 2 to TB. He was a number 2 to Reese in their championship-winning seasons. I think it's a good thing Cryptic's number 2 in this kind of scenario. But the only thing I fear for Cryptic, I mean, you look at this game and controller players, they have got slower. But I don't fear that for Cryptic. I fear the fact that last game, he was in a car that was anywhere in the range from 3rd to 5th fastest. And he was very good in that sense. Got podiums, nearly won. Which, that's what Cryptic has done in a car that is close to fastest, but not the fastest. When you look at Cryptic's history in the fastest car, go look at our stats sheet, go look at our record sheet. There's not much good to say, and I'm sorry, Cryptic, but if you're gonna be a good teammate here to Florian and not end up losing your seat, it's going to have to come from things that are not the cases of 7 poles, no wins, converted. 1 win in his RPL career, 26 podiums, I believe it is, 22 to 26. That's good. But for 20-something of those to not be wins, you know, this is the problem with Cryptic. He does really good in a car that is 3rd to 5th fastest, like I've said before. You put him in the 1st fastest car, maybe the 2nd fastest, like the Ferrari days, and you don't see the same Cryptic. And I'm worried that we're not going to see the same Cryptic that we saw last season or last game. Now, I don't even think Cryptic needs to win races in this scenario, though. Just to kind of, I guess, revert back to what I was saying and kind of contradict it slightly. He doesn't even need to win races. He just needs to finish 2nd to Florian. If he just racks up those podiums, gets a pole here and there like he usually does, I don't even think that's bad. I just think Cryptic needs to win 1 race, maybe finish 2nd to Florian and the rest of them. But do something, though, when Florian is not there. And then we'll hopefully not be saying the same things we have said for the last few seasons. And, you know, he's not been in the fastest car since season 9, or I should say the one race in season 10 at Mexico, if we're being exact. But that's okay. He's got a chance now again to prove that that was just the old days Cryptic. This is a different Cryptic. We'll see.
Yeah, very much so, and agreed on that. So our next team is the Ferrari team, and I actually just want to say I do want to vent this little thing.
Go ahead.
You guys suck
Oh,
for
yeah?
taking these
Oh,
guys.
yeah?
You guys
Oh,
suck.
yeah?
But
Funny.
yeah,
We
so
took McLaren's
Ferrari.
old lineup.
Yes, they took McLaren's old lineup, the defending champion, Jack Miles in Ferrari, and his teammate in McLaren, the Season 8 Tier 1 champion, the fake TB. But, I mean, for TB, he's back in a car that he won the Drivers' Championship with, and Jack being the defending champion going into a newer car for Tier 1. I mean, even though you guys did take the McLaren pair, even though they're in a new car, this is still a dangerous lineup.
I agree, but since you're going to go that route, I'll go a different route. You want to talk about the Ferrari Academy as a whole, including Reese in Tier 2 here? How about Tier 1 championships? The only drivers that Ferrari does not have that have won Tier 1 championships: Ding in Season 2, or Season 1, Mally in Season 2,
Season 1, yep.
and Leo Lund, who's not here anymore. That's the only 3 championships from Tier 1 that Ferrari does not have, including their Tier 2 lineup from Tier 1. 9 of 12 championships here. And Jack and TB, although they occupy 2 of them, they're the ones in the Prancing Horse, the main car. And yeah, I mean, they're not in the best situation here because the Ferrari car, as you know, it has got worse. But if they end up putting in good performances, maybe better than what they should be, it looks better. And yeah, I mean, it's a good lineup, but let's see what this game provides, because I haven't heard much good on the side of controller players, and Jack, our reigning champion, is a controller player. So, I mean, maybe he's
I believe
in a similar...
TB is also a controller as well.
Right. I don't know if TB controller wheel. I don't remember, but regardless, I'm looking at Jack for a second, and I'm saying he's in a similar position to what he was in to start Season 11. And that's okay. But he's going into this season as the reigning champion. So what does Jack have to prove? Nothing. TB came off last season with a little wacky ending, I'll say. Dropped down to reserve. With that being said, similar to how Reese ended his Season 10, I guess you could say. Didn't really end up the way it should have for TB, but he returned to pole, won races. And, I mean, I can't really say anything bad about it. Even if TB doesn't win this season, he's always been known for outperforming bad equipment. Look at the V-Carb stint he had when he probably should have been in the Red Bull. But he's in the main car now for Ferrari. It's not like he's in a Haas or a Sauber, so no conversation needed there. 2 good drivers, really good lineup. Our reigning Constructors champions too, basically. But just not the same team.
Yeah, very much so. So the next team that we got is the Red Bull team. So they have a unique lineup on hand. So they got the academy assistant for the team. They got Josh H, and his teammate is one of the co-owners of the league, George Alp Williams. They are partnering together in the Red Bull. So I will say, George, being a multi-time Tier 2 champion in Tier 2 and being a champion in Tier 3, him being in the Red Bull in Tier 1, this is going to be very interesting for him. I mean, I'm fairly certain that if he plays his cards right, he could be fighting for a championship if need be. But I mean, you can't rule out the Red Bulls. They got a good lineup here.
If we're looking at drivers who could win their first Tier 1 race, it might come from George. We talked about it last season on Last Game, and we got 3 of them to do so. Not all 4 who could have, but that's okay. However, George finally broke out and got that first Tier 1 podium. I just hope this game he's found more of a pace and more of a leap forward. For Josh, I don't know where he's at, but Vegas, he made me eat my words, and that's okay. That's the thing I was looking for from Josh. I wanted this lineup to prove that they actually deserve to be in the main Red Bulls. If not, then you could just say it was a paid lineup, basically. A lineup full of drivers who have been in control of RPL in some way, whether it be past admins, past stewards, current, whatever. That's what the Egg team, the TP, Josh and George, the drivers. And Josh is a proven Tier 1 winner. He could do it again. He raced in Canada 2 seasons ago, where he was struggling to start the game and got a podium right behind Leo Lund in second there. Just Josh, the thing I'm looking forward to in this Red Bull for him is, can he break out and get that first pole, though? Because that's the one thing that he needs. And if he gets it, he might win the race if Dirty Air is as bad as people are saying. And we've not done proper races yet. That'll happen in like less than 2 weeks. But once we do, let's find out. If Josh does get his first pole, it is likely for him to return to the top step. For George, he's looking to be on the top step for the first time. And for Tier 1, his chances of being on podium is a lot more stronger in this car than it was maybe last game. Say that just because of who he's around. Don't have to worry about a Leo Lund in the middle of things. Skitter's not in the best car anymore, or one of the best cars. And, you know, if Wheel is good, Pat is bad, as they would say, I guess, in a funny sense, George is on Wheel, and George would be the one benefiting from this. George just has to make the most of this as a driver, and then, you know, that'll be good. I think Red Bull, you're right, they do have a good lineup, but just got to put all the pieces together. They finally have everything in their lineup to not be criticized for it, and I don't think there's a reason to criticize them unless we're looking at round one and we're seeing that these two are far apart or not where the car should be. But, like you know, time will tell.
Very much so, agreed on that one. So our next team pairing is the Mercedes team. So the first driver, he was retained following the end of his time at the end of the season last season. Cookie is going to be the season 10 champion, staying in the Mercedes car, and moving from the Red Bull Academy, HSR Gecko is now in the Mercedes.
Gecko broke out and won last game in Australia, breaking a humongous drought, a 10-season drought. Cookie won, breaking a smaller drought, 30-some races. I mean, you look at Cookie and Gecko and say, these two, they don't get along. They crash each other all the time. Not true, though. You look back at Portimao when Cookie won that championship that season, and you say, these two work together when they're teammates. When they're not, they clearly crash into each other, which we can find time and time again on our YouTube and previous races when you look at it. This lineup's not in the best cars, but I look at Gecko and I still see him up there on leaderboards. I hear Cookie complain about where Pat is at. This lineup looks good on paper, but I'm a bit worried for where they're at compared to the others, though. Just because I think Gecko might lead the team surprisingly compared to Cookie. If what Cookie is saying is true, that might happen. But, I mean, you know, drivers, and I'm not just saying this just about Cookie, but drivers are complainers, including maybe both of us too. But, I mean, we're drivers, we're commentators too. And one former, one not. But, I mean, Cookie was talking about where Pat is at this game and where he's at. And even last game, he was like, I don't still got it. Well, you clearly do. Look at Abu Dhabi. Just hasn't all come together. And Cookie and Gecko need it all to do that. Gecko's got it so far this game from what I've noticed. Cookie, on the other hand, doesn't seem to. I'm worried this gap between the two might be pretty big when we get to round one. But as I've been saying, time will tell. So, yeah, that.
Yeah, very much so. So, our next driver pairing is going to be the Aston Martin team. So, the first driver in there is the inaugural Tier 1 champion of Ding, Well, I almost said the chiller, but I don't want to get him mad.
I mean,
Oh, well,
there's
I
only
just
one
said
other
it,
way
but,
to get
oh,
him
well.
mad with that, but we're not gonna go there.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
It do be the
And
government.
his teammate raced in the Racing Bulls last season, now in Aston Martin, FX7 Danny.
We spoke about the lineup before on the track, especially at Hungary and at Texas 2 seasons ago. Ding and Dom. You want to put two D's together? You got Ding and Danny. Danny has been very loyal to this academy, and that's a good thing. At least for Tier 1, I'm saying. I say loyal to the academy, even though he's raced for Ferrari, just because the fact that Egg is the one who brought him in. Egg's his TP. Egg brought him in from what used to be Egg's League, merged with RPL, which is how Tier 3 became a thing. And Danny found something in Abu Dhabi. He's not really the driver you want to put in the main Red Bull, but he's a driver you want to put in that midfield car to maybe be right near the points. And he put the V carb, which was kind of 5th fastest at certain points last game, and it was kind of surprising. He's now in the Aston Martin, which is 5th fastest, and he'll be in the points here and there. And that's a nice surprise compared to when he was in Tier 2. He didn't win in Tier 2, just had podiums, no poles. So that's a nice surprise. And Ding, last game, he only had 1 podium. I thought Ding was supposed to be good last game. We saw at the beginning of the game, holy crap, the chiller's fast again. Oh my goodness. But this game will be the determinant factor in knowing for sure, based on that 1 podium last game, are his glory days over? Because if George doesn't perform, Ding can easily get the Red Bull. But we saw when he was teammates with Cookie in Season 10, he got demoted. He got taken out of Red Bull. So, I mean, I know Ding and Owen will reminisce of the glory days when they were teammates and they were fastest, but right now, it doesn't even look like we're closer then. I mean, Owen's not in the grid anymore, Ding is, but with Ding, maybe he's the one driver Pad can look at and say, we have somebody up there. If he's not, then he's not. But I've heard a lot of controller players seriously struggling to find pace this game. And if that's the case, Ding will only just be fighting for 10th a lot. And that is a scary thought, especially coming from the Season 1 champion. Times have changed. Yeah, this grid's got competitive and more competitive as time has gone on, but Leo Lund is not in his grid anymore. Does that change things for some people? Sure, but we have some people in backmarker cars who might be knocking him out of the points constantly just because of not only the controller struggle, but because, yeah, the field spread's big, but if he doesn't qualify well and invalidates a lot like he does, then it's a very big problem. And I hope he proves me wrong, but with the controller struggle I've heard about, it doesn't seem good for Ding. Might be good for Danny, but again, times are different here. We'll have to see what things are like come round 1.
Yeah, very much so. So, our next team is the Alpine team. So, we have Minico in the Alpine, who last season had that moment in Jeddah where he went airborne
Yeah.
after a collision. That was very wild to watch. Now the second driver, there was actually a change done very recently.
Yes.
Roughly about a week and a half ago. It was initially going to be we're going over the driver that initially was going to be in that Alpine, but the driver that is going to be the second to Minico is Red Fire Tiger.
This is so interesting. I laugh at this lineup. I really do. And it's not because they're clowns, but there are 2 drivers who collided recently when we last raced. I remember Vegas. I remember the things Minico has said about Red Fire. I remember the things Red Fire feels about other drivers when racing him. They have to work together. And I get kind of shades of Cookie and Gecko right here, but drivers who've not accomplished as much as they have. Red Fire has not won a Tier 1 race, but has had a few podiums. It's been a while, but he won again in Tier 2 last game. Minico, still looking for that first Tier 1 win. 2 podiums. F2 wins are now on his resume, but for Minico, It was Japan last season that he was closest to winning, and he didn't. He didn't. He fell off in that second half of the race. So did Florian, who was 2-3 seconds clear with him. You thought surely they could win. No, it didn't happen. It was Egg who came from last and was the first time winner instead of those two. Florian eventually won. He had to wait. Miniko still has to wait even more. The Alpine, it's not as fast as I thought originally when this season came around, just because you look at Brazil and you say, all right, maybe there's a chance they could be a little higher up. No, they're basically where they were at last game and scratch it all over again for them. So Red Fire, I'm looking at reasons for him to stay in Tier 1 here and not get replaced mid-season or move down, let's say. And it's nothing against Red Fire, but he's always been a driver who just has to prove himself, whether it's because of racecraft or pace. He clearly had the pace at the start of last game to be Tier 1. He got to be Tier 1, but then he stayed in Tier 1 and didn't do much with it, which just confuses me. With Miniko, his pace has always been there, but he's like other drivers, like I've said before during the last few hours, he's just not been there with it to put all the pieces together. Miniko has to put all the pieces together. Can he outperform that car? Yeah. And based on the pace I've seen from him in this game, I think that's possible. I think he can put that car in places it shouldn't. Remember Miniko in that Mercedes Academy? One of his first ever races here in RPL at Hungary. Better than the Williams should have been. He did the same thing a lot that season. Aston Martin, he qualified 4th on a Haas. You name it. Miniko can outperform a car. Can Red Fire? At times. Consistently, though? We'll find out. So, I'm just looking for improvements with this lineup because it's like the Cookie and Gecko version of the lineup in the Academy. But again, like I said, with less accomplishments. If they can improve, more accomplishments will be added to their resume in RPL. And that did happen last game. Now we're looking for it to happen again this game.
Very good in there. So now moving on to our next group, and this is a pair that I'm looking forward to talking about. It's the Haas team. We have Alex Norris in the car, and his teammate is the Season 6 and Season 7 Tier 1 champion of Skither. Now this is gonna be a very good lineup because, I mean, Skither, he knows how to work a car. He's won races time and time again. He was the runner-up in the Drivers' Championship last season while racing in Ferrari. But then you have his teammate, Alex Norris, who no matter what
Tier
car
3 to
you
Tier
put him
1,
in,
by the way.
yes.
Yeah.
And literally,
Nearly a podium
he
in a
could
fucking
take
Sauber
a
last game.
Yeah, he can take a bad car and make it and basically turn it to gold. That's what he can do. And I can really see that in him with the Haas car.
Right, and this is a lineup for a backmarker team, match made in heaven. Just because all these teams we're talking about. I mean, I look at previous Tier 1 seasons, and you're saying, where's our lineup that are Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, Caliber F drivers, but on our backmarker cars, ready to take their car if need be, and actually, not even just that, take that out of the equation for a minute. Perform good in our bad cars to get constructors good finishes. Look at what Haas did at the end of last season with Leo Lund. Put him in the car, and he overtook Williams. Before Leo did those races in Williams to start last season, Haas was ahead of Williams. If you think about where the math ends up, well, they got back ahead of Williams at the end of things. With Haas right now, this is a team that might not even finish 10th, 9th, 8th, maybe even not even 7th at the constructors. They could finish 6th with this lineup if they play their cards right. Skither, not heard a lot about his pace this game. I've not heard him talk a lot about this game. But remember, we talked about the controller player struggles so far to start this game. He is one of them. Alex Norris, a driver on wheel and a driver who works for an F1 team esports-wise, not with the same team he races for here, but he's all over Alex Norris. He is. You could find him at probably your local grocery store if you could, just because this guy is apparent. Whether it be racing up there for a sub or trying to find new ways to do better. It doesn't matter. Alex Norris has found a big jump in pace throughout the last few game cycles, and this is amazing. We're talking about a guy who collided with Blue Goggy under the safety car when he was trying to pit. That's how bad it was for him in Tier 2. That's who he was racing less than 2 years ago. Less than 2 years ago. This was end of F1 23 who he was racing. Now he's racing Skither, teammates with Skither, and more. Cryptic, Jack, you name it. And he got that chance in Ferrari at Baku. Performed then too. 2 top 5s in Tier 1. I mean, I'm willing to bet on that guy more than the rest. For Alex, though, one thing I want to note before we go to our next lineup, Titan, he was looking at his comparisons on F1 25 to 24. How far am I off the world record? How far do I need to gain pace? Whatever it may be. Oh, he's found pace. And guess what? This game is bigger field spread, like I was saying before. Alex is not only closer to the world records, but he is finding time by the moment. Probably as we speak, he's finding time. That's how much of a leap he has taken forward. And it may be the difference in Haas finishing, let's say, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th in a race where that car should be or could be, to maybe even in the points on some occasions when it shouldn't be. And yeah, Skither's a 2-time champion, so a good guy to have as a teammate. But some people say Skither likes to be selfish. Yeah, maybe a prick for it. But we'll find out. He's just got to work with Alex Norris, and maybe the times will change and times will be well for them. And maybe this is probably the lineup that could be Ferrari if Jack and TB get demotivated somehow. I'm just saying, it could be. It might not be. But if it isn't, Haas has got themselves quite a good constructors finishing position regardless because of these two. They're reliable. They're the Haas lineup.
Yeah, very much so indeed. So now our next driver pairing is the Racing Bulls. And the Racing Bulls has, I think in my opinion, is what I would call a sleeper lineup.
Ooh.
Meaning that you don't expect them to be quite competitive, but there will be times where they will actually just come out from nowhere and actually be competitive and fight for a good lot of points. So the pair, we have the team principal of Red Bull Academy, RPL Egg, and his teammate, NRM KVS.
See,
that's why I say they're a
agree.
sleeper team.
I would agree, but I'm just going to say one thing to just disagree with you for the sake of it. This is a lineup that is also known for overdriving their cars. Egg on pad, he is slower, he said, and although he is slower, he's not tier 2 pace, he says. We'll see. KVS, I believe, is another pad driver, but showed improvements at the end of last game. I do agree with you, this could be a sleeper lineup. However, I just don't want to see them overdrive a car that is not likely to finish in the points. And I say overdrive it because you don't want to end up like KVS did in that Ferrari stint to begin with, where he was deserving of being in that car, but driving that car down in 7th, 8th, 9th, lower, and not qualifying well because of mistakes made by just, I don't want to say letting it get to his head, but I mean, based on the way he drove at certain times, you don't want it to be that side of KVS. For Egg's sake, you don't want it to be the side of him where he's getting race bans or incidents for things he shouldn't be. Simple as that. Egg is a very fast and talented driver when you look at last season. The leap he made forward, I mean, we're talking about Alex Norris and the leap he made forward. Egg did too. And Egg doesn't get talked about enough for it, but there are reasons why these two, like you said, are considered a sleeper lineup. And I wouldn't doubt that this lineup is contending for maybe a few top 5s when they shouldn't be.
Yeah, very much so. Alright, so now going into our penultimate team for the tier 1, we have the Williams team, and this is going to be an interesting team to say the least. So our first driver is JTK for being in the Williams, and his teammate is EVR Willow. Willow was originally going to be an Alpine, but now knowing that Williams is actually faster and a bit better than the Alpine, the decision was made last week to have Redfire and Willow swap spots.
Two drivers who don't say a lot in the server, but if they do, after a race, you either likely race them very clean or you really piss them off. JTK started this game very, very slow. Then Invade said, look, I looked at your RSF1 time trials, and you're not that bad this game after all. He had a slow start, JTK did, the first few days, and now it's looking a little better from the way it sounds. Tier 1 pace, probably. For Willow, a first podium finally broke out there. Could have maybe got a win. Same with JTK. JTK originally had one, and it was taken away in the stewards room, so these two drivers who have podiums are still looking for their first Tier 1 win. I think if you want to talk about Williams and the step they made forward as a car, it's looking wonderful. But, you just need all the pieces to come together. I think with the Alex Norris Skidder lineup, this is one without the achievements. This is a lineup full of drivers who outperform bad cars. GTK put an Alpine on the front row last game and last season. That same season, same game, Willow put a Haas Q4. So if Williams end up winning their first race somehow by a chaotic race, I would not be surprised if this is the lineup it comes from. I mean, hell, I know it could happen in Tier 3 and Tier 2 with the car being better than last game and everything there, but I could also see it happening in this tier, assuming we get a chaotic Tier 1 race. Just remember, Lewis Piper won in an Alpine in Tier 1. It's not out of the question that it could happen, and the only time a Williams has won an RPL comes from the old equal tier. So, ATK Willow, kind of putting some bold prediction already there, kinda, not really, but I mean, kinda, that it is a possibility. And these two also do go under the radar from time to time, but you'll see them up front when they shouldn't be. They're two very talented drivers, one a Dutchman, one a British driver.
Yeah, very much so, and agreed on that. Now, moving on to our final team for Tier 1, and that is the Sauber team. And for Sauber, the team that we have CRE Dom, who last season stirred up quite a controversy by attempting to straight line Leo in Hungary and wound up killing his teammate of KVS. So that got him in a lot of hot water in that one.
More than that.
And Knights is his teammate in the Sauber.
Welcome back, Knights. Welcome back, Tom. It's a little nice surprise to see them two together, and pretty sure they're good friends. Again, you're in the worst cars, so you're kind of put in a very sticky situation. Probably not the best situation at all, like I was saying. Dom, I'm not looking for anything special, but I'm just looking for him to outperform a bad car, and that's also because he was able to do so before a long time ago in Tier 2. As for Knights, just try hard this game like you said you were. Stick to your word. He said he's going to go all out on 25. All right, let's see it. Because I will tell you right now, Knights may not have a podium to his name, but he's somebody who, if given the right opportunity in this sense, might get a point in a surprise race. And you know what? That might be what Sauber needs to just not go pointless in this sense. Yeah, two drivers who have a lot of history to their name for very unknown reasons. I mean, Knights, you don't ever remember him in a top car, but he was for Season 8 for a few races. And Dom, a very popular but unpopular move in straight lining Leo Lund there at Hungary. However, in RPL, sometimes you do get second chances, just don't end up like Leighton, and you won't get a second chance again. However, good lineup here. Dom, Knights, good chemistry, they get along, so they'll take it.
Yeah. Alright, so just like with our other tiers, we'll be going into our team predictions on this one. Who do you think is the strongest driver lineup? If any, which is the weakest driver pairing, and which team pairing will be the one to watch out for? Like the
Okay.
one that will be a surprise.
I think the best driver lineup is Haas, Alex Norris, and Skither. It's weird to say that, but it is true. Um, Originally, I remember Alex Norris was supposed to be in the Sauber, but it was supposed to be Luke and Skither in that Haas, which is crazy to think. Uh, Luke Range, previous Tier 1 champion, previous league owner as well. But Haas, best lineup. Worst lineup? It's really tough to give the worst lineup to anybody, but I mean,
Yeah.
it could be Sauber, Diamond Knights. I hope they prove me wrong again. It could be maybe Alpine, just because that chemistry doesn't get along with what was it, Minico and Red Fire. I would give it to either one of the two. I'm just gonna give it a toss up right there with that. And then you're talking about a lineup that might outperform or do something different. I mean, outside of talking about that specific lineup, I'm just looking at Ferrari and saying, all right, you're reigning constructors champions, Jack and TB. What are they gonna do here? I mean, you got controller players like Jack, who kind of have to hit a control alt reset instead of a delete. Really, I don't know. I mean, they're at a weird point in time with where they're at, but I look at that lineup more so of like, how can they maintain their seats or maintain where they're at? And it's not because of like, any experience related things, but it's just because of the way this game is regulated and drivers waiting in the wings, and Haas specifically I look at. But I mean, in terms of outperforming a car or anything like that or whatever, and looking at who'd be surprised, I look at Williams with JTK and Willow, and I look at that more so because Beatnik, I think, was the one to bring it up. It was either him, Minico, or someone. And they'll probably correct me when I'm wrong or when they see this, but I think it was one of the two who said Williams could win a race this game in RPL. And that is probably true. But the cards need to go right for them. However, I'm more so looking at the fact that they could return to the Tier 1 podium. They've not done so since Zandvoort of Season 7, and that was with Jack. And another three-letter name could do it, JTK. Another driver could do it, Willow. And, maybe things don't go right for somebody like a Minico with Red Fire. Maybe things don't go right, so they swap around something there. Maybe Minico's racing for Williams or something. Maybe he does something magical there. I don't know. But I'm looking at Williams just because their drivers have been known to outperform the cars that they're in. And I just want to see if they could do so while together in this lineup.
Yeah, completely agree. So I think in regards to, I'm thinking that the best driver pairing, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I think it is gonna be a bit. I think it's a toss up between Ferrari and McLaren. I think these two pairs are gonna be pretty strong, and this is gonna be the main. I think it'll be the main two contenders to be fighting for the Constructors' Championship. But if I had to choose which one would probably be the stronger pairing, I think mainly, I think it's probably going to be Jack and TB with the Ferrari. I think that's the stronger of the two pairs. As for the weakest pair, it's actually pretty hard to determine on which pair is probably going to be which pair is probably the weakest, but I would probably say Sauber is probably going to be the weakest pair, mainly because of Dom's controversy and Knights with appearances here and there and stuff like that. Now the team that I think might be the bit of a surprise in regards to performances and stuff like that, I'm gonna go with Williams, with Willow and JTK, because JTK, he knows how to work the car even when it's a bad car, and Willow, in his couple of appearances in Mercedes last season, he showed great promise in the car. So probably the two of them in the Williams, I think it's doable that these
I just
two
want to see them
will
two
do pretty good.
keep doing that, just because the more they keep doing that, they get their chances to take a seat like Cookie or Cryptic have if need be.
All right, so that's the team predictions on that one for Tier 3. So now let's reveal the Season 13 calendar. So there's 20 rounds on the calendar here for Tier 1 Season 13. And here's where it gets kind of interesting. So I'll do the first half of the season to kick it off. So the season opener is going to be at Australia. So they'll. So I think this is what I think this is the 6th time that we've had Australia as the season opener. I could be incorrect on my number.
I think it's the first time since season 9 though. So
Okay.
that, I mean, yeah, it's happened I think about 5 or 6 times. Bahrain is the only other one that has happened with season opener. So
yes,
nice to see.
that is correct. All right, so next up, round 2 is going to be China, followed up with Japan for round 3. And speaking of Bahrain is round 4 of the calendar.
One thing to mention
Jeddah
about that quickly, those first 5 tracks you're naming, including Jeddah, over half of them are reprofiled. And something to look at for Bahrain, though, that people have to be aware of. I heard people saying recently, not from this league, but other leagues, wait, Bahrain looks different, doesn't it? Yes, they redid it. Meaning the curb is different, the way the corners profile, they laser scan everything.
They did the tracing.
Miami's another one too.
The laser scanning.
There's a lot of them that are. So just something to take note of when we get to Bahrain, and even Japan with the way things are done there too. Track limits at those tracks that have been reprofiled are a bit sketchy. I saw Beatnik pull up a photo somewhere and say, "Oh, I didn't get track limits for this." Yeah, that happens, and that's weird. But it's only at the tracks that they redid and laser scanned. So there's a lot of those tracks in the first half of the season to just be aware of some sketchy things going on. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but it is definitely a big point to raise when we get there.
Yeah, very much so. All right, so round 6 of the calendar is going to be at Imola. Round 7 is Spain. Round 8 is Austria, the regular layout.
Yes.
And to wrap up the last 2 rounds of the first half of the season, well, it's a double header. And I mean it literally. Round 9, we're racing around the regular layout of Silverstone. And round 10 will be the reverse layout of Silverstone.
So, to me, this feels like real life in terms of staying in Austria twice. When we did for the Austrian Grand Prix and the Styrian Grand Prix. Now,
yes.
I mean, there's been times probably when you look at Texas and Vegas, or maybe Italy and Imola, where RPL has ran back-to-back races in the same country, whether it be Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. This might be the first time we've ran at the same track, basically, just reverse, of course, this is, in back-to-back weekends. So, you know, you're going to learn Silverstone going forward the 1 week, and then you're going to learn it going backwards the 1 week. I know Leon probably wished we'd have Baku backwards or something, or Spain, and all the races that he messed around in Tier 1 in the past. And all jokes aside, though, that will be interesting to find out.
I did hear that I think there is a possibility that the reverse tracks, because I mean currently we have Zandvoort, Austria, and Silverstone, but apparently there was rumors. I guess there's going to be more reverse tracks being added, perhaps, but I don't know.
I think everyone wants Spa, if I'm being honest, though. If there's a reverse track everyone wants, it's probably Spa.
Oh my god. Can you imagine them going down Eau Rouge and Raidillon? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That's just a disaster waiting to happen.
I can imagine it, but I want to do it. There's a difference.
Speaking about Spa, that's actually going to be the first round of the second half of the calendar, round 11. And then round 12, we have Hungary. Round 13 is Monza. Baku is the 14th round of the calendar. Singapore is round 15. Round 16 is Circuit of the Americas in Texas. Mexico is on for round 17. Brazil is round 18. Vegas will be appearing on round 19. And Abu Dhabi will be the season finale. So, I believe So, oh, go away, Natalie.
It's time for you to start thinking.
I'm trying to look at the tracks, but freaking
I know there's no.
getting
I was
in
just
my
gonna say. I
way.
know there's no Miami. There's no Monaco. That I did notice. No Monaco, meaning we still have not ran Monaco since season 9, which is very surprising. Still, longest stretch in RPL F1 history, we have not ran Monaco. If it's not ran during one season, usually it's ran the next. But that's just surprising to me. Those are the two that stand out. For those that are not aware, there's no Portugal this game. That's just regardless of RPL or not, no Portugal. So our Portugal race last game that Cookie, Skither, Jack were on the podium for, that was it. No more, unless they bring back classic tracks, which everyone wants more than reverse tracks, but that's for a different time. We'll talk about that later. That's probably a future video.
So the tracks that are not appearing so the tracks that are not appearing on the calendar, we have Miami, Monaco, Canada, Zandvoort is not appearing.
Oh wow.
We got Brazil, we got Vegas.
No home race for Monaco. Canada.
And Qatar. Qatar's not on the list
Qatar's
either.
been left off a few times, and it was recently. I don't remember if it was last season or the season before. I want to say it might have been last season. It was one of the. It was. I think it was season 10 because we had to shorten. Was it season 10? I think it was season 10 when we had to shorten it 2 races. We were originally going to run a really long calendar for season 10, but we had to shorten it 2 races.
Yeah, it was
Qatar
24.
Was
we had
taken
24.
off. So, I mean, you look back and you say Qatar is not a surprise based on RPL history. Monaco isn't. Imola is, but it's not the first time either. Zandvoort is a bit of a surprise considering we ran it for so many consecutive seasons for RPL as well. It's a really great race each season too, by the way. Monaco, not a surprise there. Canada though. Canada, I want to say it was it season 12 we didn't run it too? Was it last season we didn't run it? We ran it season 11. So yeah, it was Canada. Last season we didn't run it too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, no home race for Monaco. This season. He'll have to wait another one. But yeah, that's a bit of an interesting one. Is there a track that you're surprised not to see on there? For me, it'd be Zandvoort.
Crazily enough, I actually agree. Zandvoort too. Zandvoort, I'm a little surprised it's not on the list.
But we are running Silverstone Reverse. It's our only one. I mean, in Tier 3, we got 2. In Tier 2, we have 3. In Tier 1, we have 1. So it's all split around, you could say, in the way it's done with the amount of reverse tracks we have.
Yeah, very much so. Alright, so with the calendar all done, now we'll be going into some random predictions, and I pretty much only got like 2. I only got like a couple in mind in regards to it. Well, I mean, just like with all the other tiers, who would be the main title contenders for the Drivers' Championship if we had to split it down to 3 people?
I actually think it's the easiest tier to split out to 3, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's the easiest one.
Yeah.
It's Jack, TB, and Florian. They're the easiest ones.
Yeah.
But I would say don't count out Cryptic, and this one's a bit of an outlier, but I would also say probably don't count out George either. I think possibly George will be thrown his hat into the mix as well.
I've actually got a.
But mainly
very
the main
weird
three
one
would be
as my
Jack,
third.
TB, and Florian.
Jack, TB, and Florian. Okay, I've got one
Yeah.
different than you, and I don't think Cryptic can be considered a championship contender yet. I just want to see him win another race first before saying that.
Yeah.
I've got a very, very interesting one, and I might get backlash for this third one, just because of his racecraft, and everyone knows who I'm going for when I say that. Jack,
Oh.
Florian,
Yep.
Gecko. Yeah,
Really?
Gecko. Yes. Think about it, though. I mean, Mercedes, yeah, they're in the top 4 in their cars, but, I mean, you look at the amount of controller players in that top section of cars. Gecko, if it's not Cookie who moves up and goes in for Cryptic, if Gecko gets put in mid-season, he could easily do so. Remember, he got put in the Red Bull last season, midway through. Yeah, he didn't do a lot with it, but times have changed, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I think Gecko, yes, he did good in the Red Bull when reserving there from the V car, but I think if there were to be someone likely to take a McLaren spot, I could see it being Gecko. I'm just saying. I mean, there's, you need someone to boost your championship chances in terms of, like, I guess a constructors wise or maybe drivers wise for themselves when Florian or Cryptic might miss. If Gecko's called up, man, that would be great. And I don't think just look at it from a McLaren aspect. I think you could do so for the Mercedes team. I think of a driver, even back to season 5 days, like he was in the Ferrari, he was in the Mercedes at certain times, and he was just able to put that car in places it shouldn't have been. He was in contention for the win at season 5 Brazil. He was in contention many times in that Ferrari 2 seasons ago for a win before he actually won. But I only consider him championship contender caliber here just because I trust, and it's weird because I do trust TB to outperform a bad car, but for the sake of a championship aspect right now, I trust Gecko in a Mercedes more so than a TB of our 3rd or 4th place cars, though. I still say Jack and Florian are our top 2. Like, there's no taking away from that.
Right.
But I think that 3rd place, no matter you said TB, I said Gecko, I think it's such a toss-up there. I mean, if Josh or George find something, they're in it. Cookie could. That 3rd place spot is a toss-up, but we're dead set on Florian and Jack. I mean, there's no taking away from that.
All right, so I am saving this question. I've saved this question for last.
Okay.
And this one is going to be the one that is going to be, I would say, is what we would call the stirring of the pot question. And with the drivers that we have talked about, the driver pairings and all that sort of stuff, in your opinion, is there a driver that you think that, from the drivers that we announced, do you think that there is a driver that you think, in your opinion, should not be in the car that they're in because you think maybe that person is probably a little overhyped and may not do as good, or somebody that's like, why is this person in this type of car? He should be in this car.
I mean, I originally thought that going into this game with some people, mainly the Red Bull lineup, specifically before this game, until I saw races like Vegas and the end of the season, last season play out. Can't really say so now. I want to see round 1 and round 2 play out before I say anything there, just because. I mean, I heard Cryptic struggling, but I don't think it's fair to be too harsh on him, let's say.
Yeah.
Even Red Bull, I mean, I don't know enough about Josh or George to rate them right now. For the sake of this game, I rate them overall in a certain way, and same with Cryptic. I think Cryptic's a better driver to have in a Mercedes than a McLaren. I think he would do a lot better there. But it's not the same, and plus, this game could be different. This might not be like Season 9, where Cryptic is a number 2 driver. Maybe he's ahead of Florian. We don't know. We won't know until round 1. So I can't really say so, but I think the thing that sparks my eye in terms of you speaking about cars like this comes from not even Haas or Ferrari changing a driver lineup there. I don't think you can replace the champions the way you can with Jack and TB, the way you could replace let's say, the Alpine and Williams lineup, swapping them around, just because if there becomes a patch this game, let's say Alpine get nerfed and Williams, I don't know, get better somehow, you could be trading drivers there. And I think right now it shows the Williams 6 fastest, but they did a speed test thing or whatever, and some are saying it's 7th or 8th. We won't know until we get to round 1, that's for sure. But what we do know is if there's a patch that comes in and things change, you're more likely going to see Williams go faster and Alpine go slower. And if that's the case, I'm interested to see, will Minico and Red Fire still be in the Alpine? Will they want to move people around? But also, I look at all the other academies besides the one I assist. Merc Academy I look at for that, and Red Bull Academy I look at. Aston and RB. Aston is clearly a better car than RB. Well, you look at who's in the Aston, you look at who's in the RB. Will there be some switchy swaps, I guess I'll call it? Will there be any swapping? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, we'll know after round 1, round 2, but even if there is a performance update, that's what I wonder there. I don't really look at Ferrari, Haas, and Sauber in terms of switching people. And maybe it's because of the team the academy I have to actually worry about, I guess. But I think with Red Bull and Mercedes, I look at it just because Aston and RB and Alpine and Williams, the second half of those cars, really. Because Red Bull is separated from Aston and RB now, we know that. And Mercedes, McLaren are in their own league compared to Alpine and Williams. This, and I hate to say this, and Invade's not going to like it, but he knows it's the truth. And we've talked about it before. You go look at Ferrari, Haas, and Sauber, and you say, why would I want to race for an academy that has cars that have degraded from last game? With Mercedes Academy, so many went over there to Netsky, not only because of what he's been providing as a TP, but because of the cars that are there. And I look at the cars that are there, and I say, they've got a good variety of cars Mercedes Academy does. Well, Red Bull Academy, things are split quite evenly. Red Bull fastest of the 3, then Aston, then RB. You have a good car, bad car, midfield car. With Mercedes, everything floats around. So I wonder, in terms of where the drivers are out there, not necessarily who doesn't deserve their seat, who doesn't deserve the ride, but who gets moved around in that sense, just because it's so much easier to move around there. You move someone from Ferrari to Haas, not the same. Or Haas to Sauber, it's still not the same. So it's an interesting topic more so to look at in that aspect, more so than who deserves what. Or doesn't.
I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree on that, because I mean, when I was looking at the lineup, I mean, there was a couple of people that I was like, well, I mean, it's an interesting choice, but I mean,
like
maybe
Skidder
this guy
Haas.
could have done. Yeah, that could have be. Well, there's maybe like for me, there's like a couple of people that were like, well, maybe it's a good idea for them to be in there, but I would have preferred this guy or some of the sort. So, like, I will point out two people. I was a little bit concerned about with Josh being in the Red Bull, because I was thinking like, well, I mean, you have KVS. KVS is pretty good. Well, maybe KVS will be in the Red Bull. But honestly, as I thought about that, I was like, no, actually, Josh is getting a lot better. He's getting quicker. He's showing his stride. So maybe it's possible. Maybe Josh can really make something out with that Red Bull. And in your academy for Ferrari, I will say, I think it's a tiny bit whack to see Alex Norris in the Haas, but I mean, I know there's going to be an eventuality that Jack or TB is gonna miss a race, and I would love to see Alex Norris strutting around the track in the tier 1 Ferrari. I would love to see that sometime.
Happened once in Baku.
But that's under the that could happen. There's a chance, but we don't know, and if Jack or TB is going to miss a race. But I would like to see Alex Norris in the Tier 1 Ferrari, just to see how good he can be for this game. And then with my academy with Mercedes, I mean, as you said, it's a good level field of cars. I mean, the driver pairings, they complement each other. With Cookie and Gecko, they complement each other well. Florian and Cryptic, they complement each other well. Willow and GTK, I believe they're on equal footing. They're on equal footing with each other. I mean, the only pair that might have some issues would be Redfire and Minico, but I think the two of them can hash it out and actually do well competitively. So, I mean, yeah, it is a bit too early to assume, but I mean, like I said, there is a couple of people that you question on it, but
too early.
I mean, you never know. But it's too early, and I think tier 1 for all the drivers, it is good and solidly competitive across not only the top cars, but also the midfield and the back markers.
It's nice to see.
So you're going to be looking at good racing all the way around.
It's very nice to see, and I'll tell you this. You mentioned Red Bull just a moment ago, and you got to remember, everyone is in a certain situation for a certain reason. If you look at Skither, he's only in the Haas and only in that car because he wanted a chance at being in the Red Bull. Egg wouldn't let him. He was originally supposed to be in the Aston, I believe, or the RB, whatever the situation was there. And it didn't end up the way it would be for Skither. And the reason why I criticized Red Bull before, now you say Josh and George are getting better. They are, I agree. But is that their best with what they've got? Is it? We'll find out by round 1 and round 2 and so on. But you don't want to just put your friends in the best car or, you know, just have them there. I mean, it's good to have them there. I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm just saying you don't want to just have that. And I'm not saying Red Bull's wrong for this, but you think about where Skither has been experience-wise and everything and history of RPL, you look at it and you say, well, Skither should be in the Red Bull if he was still a part of the academy before he went to Ferrari to be in the Haas. And that's where you say, yeah, that's fair. However, Egg didn't allow that to happen, and that's the end of the story. Just we'll have to see by round 1, round 2, and so on. Is Josh and George doing what they're supposed to in Red Bull? And I'm sure Skiller will remember that this is what happened, and now I'm in the Haas, and this is why I'm there. So, I mean, that's okay. But looking at it, he'll remember, and Egg will still feel like he made the right decision. However, it's what Haas gained out of it with that, and that's great to see. And now Alex, he's a part of Haas, and he can get a chance in Ferrari like Skither does. Skither, remember, he went from Mercedes to Ferrari. He made that trade last season and started winning because of it. He wasn't winning the Mercedes. He was only getting a pole or two. So things can change that quickly in RPL, whether it's for the sake of good or for the sake of bad. And yeah, Red Bull took a risk with this lineup. Is it the right one? We'll see. But you know, Skither will not forget about the fact that he is not a part of Red Bull, and they could have taken a chance on him, and they didn't. I think the only reason you look at things now, though, with Skither, and you say, why would Red Bull not take a chance on him? And there's only one good reason that could be said in terms of moving him up to a Red Bull car like that, in the main Red Bull, and it'd be because of attendance. Yeah, it's not been as much of an issue in Season 12, but it was in Season 11. And that's where you say, look, Skither, you know, you look at Season 9, and you look at the attendance issues then, and compare it to now, it's more significant to miss RPL races and, you know, not get away with it now compared to back then. So maybe that was Red Bull's argument for that. Maybe it wasn't. I don't criticize it as much just because I think they're in a good spot now, just because Josh and George have found improvements. But this is a whole different game compared to last game, so everyone's on, I wouldn't say the same playing field, but definitely a revamped one. And you're right. I mean, Redfire Minico, just to respond to you on that, that lineup may not be what people thought it'd be, but hey, it could be like Cookie and Gecko, where they need to be together to work together good. And, well, sometimes that's just what happens. I mean, our season 13 of F1 is coming up soon. We'll have the 250th Tier 1 race Titan. We'll also have the 6-year anniversary of RPL coming up in August. That's 2 months from now.
Yes.
We'll also have all tiers combined eventually. I don't know when it'll be because it's been so hard to keep track of everything. A 1000th race ran this game cycle in terms of all of our tiers. You go back F1.5, Tier 3, Tier 2, F2, F1, equal tier, you name it. We've had so many races ran here in RPL, Formula Endurance as well, to be a part of the equation. And we'll have 1,000 races ran by the start of this game cycle at some point in our first few seasons. That to me is quite miraculous. That's how close we are, and we're not far from running that. And I also didn't get to mention, but our last race of the Tier 3 season will be our 50th. So many milestones to look forward to, many races to look forward to, many new tracks, many new drivers. I mean, this Tier 1 lineup, it's stacked. Tier 2 has got a big stacked lineup at the front. Tier 3, we have new drivers there. Could get a new champion there just based on what we have. Maybe new race winners. Definitely new champion for Tier 3 just because our reigning champions have moved up to other tiers, and maybe a new Tier 1 champion too based on our current circumstances. We'll see. And like I've said this whole entire time, time will tell. And tell will time just because we will tell the story as time goes past. We'll continue to do so.
Very much agreed on that. Well, that is going to conclude our deep dive into what is expected for F125, and this is going to be quite a spectacular show. So, as mentioned before, our first weekend of racing action will be Tier 3, kicking off their first race on the 19th of June. The next day, Friday, June 20th, will be the first round of Tier 2, and on Saturday, June 21st, will be the first round of Tier 1. So, thank you all for watching our deep dive analysis. Titan Iron Wolf and Ryan Searles, we say good night and have a good one.
Goodbye.